Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. Today's topic, AI agents. This is, in my opinion, a trendsetter for 2025. It kind of already actually is towards the latter stages, certainly, of this year. I think there's been a lot of channels out there discussing a lot of the AI related tokens in general the last few years, including our channel. But we are moving into real significant development in this area, and the whole purpose of this video, yes, I will provide 2 or 3 of my sort of top focused crypto assets, but I also want to indulge in the pros and cons of AI agents in general, what this means for the crypto sphere, but also what it means to the world, what it means to us, jobs, people, society, just general sector changes of technologies. Unbelievable. We'll cover some of it as much as we can, but let's dive into it, guys. First and foremost, if you haven't done so already, please do smash that subscribe button. If you haven't, please do that, and also watch some of the other videos on the channel. We cover a load of different topics and projects, of course, here on the Whales of Wall Street. Let's go straight into this topic. So first and foremost, just a really quick overview paragraph here of an introduction of AI agents. Go into a bit more detail about the deep learning modules, which we talked about so many times on this channel. For those that don't know, I've been heavily involved in the building of security and AI of sort of the last 7 to 10 years. More recently as well, integrating my knowledge and expertise in the Web3 blockchain space, and lo and behold, the path is very much in fruition of where we're going with this. So an AI agent, essentially software program that can interact with its environment, gather data, and use that data to achieve goals. AI agents can make decisions and take action autonomously. What this means is we are in a fixated point now where we're taking that concept of how humans learn things, so our brain capacity of memory, data gathering, that sponge mentality, and how we can turn that into positivity or development of a technology or society and things like this. Okay, so if you can imagine your brain, for a better word here, with all its different neurons, all its different capacities to be able to create and manifest information and absorb information, and as time goes by, as we get older, we learn more, right? So our development patterns from a very young age, and over time we gain experience and knowledge. We try to make better decisions, or try to improve our knowledge in certain areas. Sometimes we delve into a specific area, sometimes we're broad with our knowledge. I mean, generally speaking, humanity is always a bit skewed when it comes to what we actually should or do with our brains and our knowledge versus what tends to happen in reality, unfortunately, in some areas. But for the generalistic purpose of this conversation is taking that, but utilizing the artificial intelligence approach on top of this. So we're getting into a really interesting point, guys. So before we go into the crypto, I think it's really important that we cover this as a full-on topic, understanding where we are with AI in general, the AI agents aspect, what that really means. But as I said, also the pros and the cons. And the cons really are something we should awaken to. Because personally, and I'm going to say this now, and I will reiterate at the end. Personally, I've always said, crypto, if you're investing in crypto or blockchain, you're pretty much investing in the demise of society. Pretty much with AI as well. Now, there's definitely good things in AI and blockchain, but there's a lot more bad things. And if these aren't put in the right hands, it could go south massively. So deep learning, this is off the IBM website to give you a bit more of a reflection on that. Again, taking that principle I just mentioned about the model of the brain. With the artificial intelligence aspect, we're speeding things up significantly. So the speed of data, the speed of absorption of it, the speed of learning, the decision-making application of AI is phenomenal. Now we're in really early stages, but AI needs to start somewhere, which it has. AI has been around for a number of years now. We're now seeing some collated things occurring. Our search engines are integrating AI. We've now got things like ChatGPT. We've got AI integrated into a lot of chatbots. Banks are being replaced with digital variants, and now virtual assistants are now AI driven. We've got social media that has now got owners who are in the AI sphere, who now take essentially the biggest database, or one of the biggest databases in the world, Twitter or now X, into essentially a behavioral study. It's measuring, it's monitoring, it's seeing keywords, it's seeing how people react to things, it's listening, it's learning, it's all the time. Then we've got biometrics on top of this from a digital identity perspective. And we've also got things like our transactions. This is all now digitalized. So healthcare, finance, any sector you can possibly think of, us as individuals, our behavioral patterns are all being measured now with AI, whether we like it or not. Now, the principle of this is that this can apply to many different sectors. We've talked about healthcare so many times on this channel. We've talked about the energy sector utilizing AI. We've done some great AMAs with the professors and doctors, for example, Power Ledger. And hopefully that's been absorbed by yourselves. If you're new to the space, I highly recommend checking those videos out and following this kind of information to understand the pattern. Raoul Paul did a really interesting interview recently. Can't remember that famous channel and whose name hosts it. But he was basically saying what we've said on this channel for a long time. You cannot stop what's happening, essentially. So the only alternative is to invest in it. Otherwise, you'll get sucked away. So this aspect of deep learning is now in this point with AI where slowly but surely it's taking our information of input, or our models of information that are already out there that it can literally just scour and absorb as information, and it's starting to make decisions. It's starting to make very, very quick decisions. Things that would normally potentially take us all day can be done in seconds, whether it's house sales, brokerage of insurance, or finance in general, trading. That's the key point here for this particular video, guys, in terms of the crypto aspect. We'll come on to that in more detail. Now we're seeing things like generative artwork. We're seeing decisions and data gathering of medical care, imaging analysis of things like tumors or DNA. How can we better provide medicine to people? But equally on the other side, how it could be potentially taken away or reversed or something to block it. We'll go on to that point in a minute, because I think this is really important where we talk about the crossroads that we're at now with this phenomenal technological advancement that will literally, if we do not control this, it will go so fast, and it will be probably the most technologically advanced, speediest evolution you would ever have known in your life, in the history of humanity, and for the future as well. So you see here all sort of different things that we can associate with deep learning. Self-driving, learning from the basics of transport networks, infrastructure, us as drivers in general, things like fraud detection. We'll go on to that point in a bit more detail in a second as well. But it's taking that aspect, it's utilizing the power that we've now got in computing and mathematics, especially with the utilization of blockchain. AI can now develop algorithm, it can develop trend and forecasting in a phenomenal way. We talked about that in supply chain management videos in recent times. Things like the GPU units, this is massive for things like gaming, for things like coding. And when you've got the coding aspects and things like that already in place, and they're sped up significantly because of things like AI, wow, do we need people anymore? That's the thing. So I'll leave a link to this at the end of this video, but I just wanted to really sort of hone in on some of those discrepancies. We'll do that in a second, but let's talk about quickly around AI agents. So in particular with finance, this is a really big topic. So deep learning in finance is a huge mechanism that is developing really fast. We've seen this in the last few years with some of the exchanges that we all use. I've used KuCoin, for example. You can have trade bots on there that basically do all the trading for you for fees as it goes along. So you sit there and you're like, well, I don't need to do this myself. I don't need a broker. I don't need an intermediary. So we've eliminated some of those jobs already. We can focus on what we need to do and just let the bots do it. I always have this question in my head, is that, well, if we all did this, what's the point anyway? Because the algorithmic application of AI, if we're all using this, will just level itself out. There will be no contested winner. It will just probably come down to how much money someone has to be able to pay more fees than the other person, because that's the way it essentially go. And we're in the early stages, as I said. It's still a progressive technology is progressive service in the early stages, but it will develop. It will develop significantly. So we will see this, taking really massive advantage. So when we come to the point of the growing this article here, and I'll leave at the end of the video as well. But I'll just read this first paragraph here. So the concept of AI agents has emerged as one of the most interesting innovations in the crypto industry. Unlike simple trading bots, these AI-driven creatures use artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, and internet culture to solve some of the long-standing problems in the crypto market. So this is things, very much bring into fruition of arguably good things. So when we talk about like trading bots, they can analyze the market significantly quicker and faster and probably more efficiently than humans can. It can predict price movements. So again, back to my point earlier about, well, what's the point in even us going ahead with this ourselves anymore when the AI will just take over and stabilize itself for everyone. It could potentially execute trades, which we've seen, as I've mentioned. The experience that I've seen I haven't used it myself personally, but I've seen it on KuCoin. You can also understand the trading opportunities in the future. This could be based on things like scalping. It could be based on keywords. It could be based on market keywords, in the sense that this token and thing is being talked about quite a lot. It can start algorithmically, I think I just made that word up, analyzing, what that price token could be, or the push initiative of that trade occurring. Therefore, it would switch your trades into another one that it knows that's upcoming because of everything that's going on in the world, right? So we go back to this point here in relation to the autonomous bit. That's really fascinating. The insight aspect we kind of mentioned already, but you've got things also like in terms of fraud detection. So monitoring all the transactions, monitoring blockchain. So blockchain obviously does a great job of verifying and processing itself, but AI can jump on top of that as people get more clever around potential hackings or manipulation of transactions and things like this. It can step in to stop or flag that unusual or suspicious activity. We've also got things like what we call natural language processing. So I've got this article here, which is absolutely fascinating, very much around behavioral insight around consumer data, customer data, as I said, keyword extraction. So when I go back to my point about Twitter and X, building all these algorithms can infiltrate the potential. Let's say, as an example, loads of people are talking about a certain token. Generative AI, for example, with artwork, can then go and create an image. It can then go create its own blog and talk about this particular token, flash that out to the internet so more and more people see it, put that AI initiation of marketing on top of it. So it's already automating the marketing out to it. We're seeing it on our YouTube, our TikToks, whatever, all this generative content. All of a sudden, you don't need people to do the design work. You don't need copywriters. You don't need marketeers. It's quite fascinating, really, that in the next few years, this could really branch out significantly and take all of this aspect away from us as people. I never really thought about it in this way. Like, I knew crypto and blockchain and AI would definitely take jobs as things go along, especially in finance with banking and whatnot, in healthcare. But it's absolutely staggering, actually, if you think about it in more detail, where this could possibly go. You've got things like portfolio management. You've got smart contract auditing, which is pretty much mostly done by consensus at the moment. But there is a big, heavy relation to things like developers and programmers to help with that as well. You can just eliminate that. So it could exploit or find contract codes or bugs, issues of security with functionality, all these things. We've got things like staking optimization. So a lot of that's usually a manual process at the moment, where we look at our yields and we place crypto assets in various different pools, etc., to gain the staking mechanisms. That could all be automated. We could also look at things like perhaps the governance participation. So perhaps chatbots, for example, tailoring advice or answers based on user questions about trading or staking and influence those decisions. So some really interesting ways and things that could happen out of this, for sure. I'd like to focus quickly on a couple of projects that I've been following a long time. I don't actually hold these specifically at this moment because I'm waiting for some of the dips, if there are any. I know a lot of channels have covered some of these projects for some time, so it's not like I'm trying to preach that this is new and I know everything about this, but there's a few that I wanted to pick out, guys. So Virtuals Protocol is one of those. Absolutely fantastic company. Again, it's working with some phenomenal platforms and projects already. It's very much integrating around that aspect of the things that we've already talked about in regards to the automation, utilizing AI in the sphere of pretty much, content creation, gaming, trading, you name it. It's absolutely fantastic, this project and this company. And you see, from a sort of trendsetter of token, you only have to go back to earlier this year. And in fact, all the way back, I think, to, was it March, it launched. We saw those prices around 5 cents. It's now around $3. So you can see that it's one of those where I wish I'd known about it a long time ago. I have been following this for some time as well, on various other channels. But I think there's a lot more progression to go with this kind of project. The other one that I picked out was AI16Z. Only really, not because of all the narrative on the channels and things like this. It's a similar story, guys. You see the previous price points here at 2 cents. It's now flying around at 80 cents. It's had some good opportunities to buy in and out of it. But this one in particular is operated by Elisa Labs. This is, again, phenomenal. They're starting to do some really interesting projects. One here, for example, Stanford University, so around digital currency initiatives or the future of digital currency, particularly potentially around CBDCs and the existing and future digital currency systems. The collaboration is set to begin in Q1 2025, so this is very future driven. It's very much, I guess, we say the future is actually pretty much now, but elementing itself around all the things we just talked about: agent trust mechanisms, the decentralized agents, governance, all of these things. It's really kicking off. And when you've got universities, especially things like Stanford University getting involved, you can start to see a really interesting pattern of where this is going. So operating as well within Elisa is the actual operating the OS system of this project is actually incredible. Character generators are really interesting move forwards as well. So customizable personalities, like this is getting ridiculous now, and this is from the digital format. Imagine when this integrates with like hybrid humans or like robotics and things like that. Absolutely unbelievable. By the way, I'm just skimming through these because I'm going to do individual videos on these projects. I just wanted to sort of insinuate here that there's a lot of projects out there that we've known for a long time. I mean, I've held FET. I can't remember when I started buying FET. Must have been around the pandemic time. It's one of the first ones that I got in my portfolio after XRP and VeChain and things like that. Of course, they're now called Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that's Singularity Net combined with Fetch AI. But irrespective of that, the Fetch AI website still operates itself, but it's now heavily orientated itself. This website's changed completely in the last 12 months to focus itself really on AI agenting. So it's actually, again, this one I can probably talk about in a lot more detail because I've known it for some time. I've held it for a long time. So that should be quite an interesting video for us to go through. I'm really interested in these other ones, which I have been following. I do know a relative amount about them, but I'm very excited to sort of do that extra research for when we do those videos. Begin with Fetch AI. There's always been some great opportunities, some great growth patterns. I think I'll probably do a Fetch AI video in the next couple of days, purely from the fact that, as I said, I know this one. I've got chart data already up on my TradingView account for Fetch anyway, and we can also go into really detailed information around the chart for sure. But again, this is another one, in my opinion, it's in my top 3 in terms of the watch list aspect of AI agents, but there's so many more. A lot of these I haven't heard of before. A lot of these I've been recommended about or have been informed about. Certainly we will try to cover as many as we can over the sort of next 6 to 12 months. I think, as I said, next year it's going to be a really big push for the AI agent side of it. We've already had the AI narrative crypto pushes. I think it was like a year or so ago, but I think this is like the next evolution, the next step, where it's starting to really integrate all these infrastructures together. So when we loop back to this topic around deep learning and finance, I want to talk quickly about the I wouldn't say would we call it the bad things? I'm not sure. So first and foremost, where I talked about all those really interesting potential good things, there's a lot of things that can also be reversed in that manner. So when we're talking about things like the exploitation, perhaps in smart contracts or coding, what's to say that AI takes its own theories and thoughts around this and becomes the actor, the malicious actor, rather than the suppressor of the bad stuff? I think that's a really interesting concept, and I think at the moment it's very much controlled by humans to dictate the laws behind this, or the infrastructure, the legislation, and to stop AI from progressing in that way. But as it learns, we see it in films and things like that. It's a bit of a sci-fi topic, but actually it's more real than it ever has been, and it's more of a real issue, potential issue, significant issue than it ever has been as well. So I think this is something really interesting when we talk about how secure AI and blockchain is together, how big the companies that are working on these really integrate their coding aspect. Because eventually, in my opinion, and I know Elon has warned about this, that AI would eventually take over. It sounds so ridiculous in people's heads, even in mine still, but this is the reality of how this could go. So when you're looking at the deep learning modules, that decision-making process of AI agents could be significant. It could work completely against us. It could work for governments. It could work for political aspects. It could work for its own agenda, its own regimes. I'm not being skeptical. I'm just saying that this is the potential alternative. Unbelievable. Market manipulation, could you imagine? Bringing down countries, bringing down financial institutions, bringing down our own investment, which is why I said earlier in this video, we've got these trading bots and things. What's to say that it goes the other way? Think about it. Literally think about how much control we are already giving away as humans to other humans and governments, etc. What is going to be like when we face a force that we don't even know how fast and powerful it can be in these coming years? The ethical concerns aspect, of course, as I mentioned, governance in the good side, there's also the bad side. What's to say, if there's centralization of AI creeping into decentralization, that those unethical decisions continue, or perhaps indeed the lending aspect, the aspect of inflation, interest rates and things like this. What could actually happen here? One of the key things for me personally, and this is why I think we will see the AI laws coming in certainly next year in the UK, and that's why I said, that's why Starmer's here, really, as the Prime Minister, to authorise these aspects. Who knows really what the AI bill and laws will actually significantly turn itself into, but I believe that a lot of the legislation, hopefully, touch wood, is to try and progress AI, but in the manner that we don't have these potential bad things happening. But it really depends on whose hands they will fall into and who's probably got the most money to coincide with that point. The other really big thing for me is jobs, guys. Now, we've already mentioned about designers, marketeers. We can also look at the banking, the financial side of it, and I think this is where it gets really interesting. So first and foremost, fraudulent activity in the financial sphere is probably one of the better and the worst points, really, because around $5 trillion or $5 trillion, around that sort of mark, is lost annually, globally, from the economy based on financial fraud. Now, there's an argument to say that crypto AI can help with that, but there's also an argument to say that it could, in the wrong hands, add to that number. And when we start looking at that, we start thinking about, well, who's doing this at the moment? Who are the existing roles out there that work not necessarily just in finance, but around the world as well? So I went and did a bit of research, and I was kind of like, well, if AI goes ahead, especially in DeFi, for example, when we have the integration of AI and these platforms more efficient, they're more adaptive, they're handling, complex tasks more efficiently than humans will ever do, what could actually happen here? So we think about we think about banks, brokers, other intermediaries, of course, who go around managing risk. They facilitate transactions, the compliance, the regulation, you name it. If AI can automate that, it could significantly reduce that risk, or it could enhance, or it could potentially downgrade our ability for loan approvals, fraud detection, all these things. Talk about smart contracts, how far that can actually go. AI can obviously improve the loan processing aspect. It can provide or improve the liquidity aspect as well in terms of the management of that. Real-time adjustments, we talked about that so many times in the medical sphere, in the financial sphere as well, the energy sectors. Real-time data is something that we as humans can't really fully comprehend properly ourselves. We can't dissect this. We can't process it quick enough. AI can. So we're already reducing that element of the requirement for human expertise in this area. And of course, as mentioned, like if you have a broker or a financial advisor, or you've got an accountant, well, AI can do that as well. It can provide the insights, it can provide the knowledge that it needs, it can provide those servicing roles. You've got the back office jobs in terms of like compliance checking, the reconciliation, data management. We've also got in the aspect here of things like looking at the administrative side of it, so data entry clerks. We're looking at administrative assistants, email management, kind of links with what we said about marketing earlier, document preparation, content makers can be done through AI now. You've got the financial aspects, as I mentioned, of the analytical aspect. You've got the bookkeeping, the auditing. You've got things like in supply chain management, we talked about in previous videos, how that can be sped up. But equally, things like truck drivers, when you've got autonomous vehicles coming, you've got drones that reduce the requirement for potential things like harvesting and agriculture, or deliveries in general. You've got things like retail, you've got cashiers, which has pretty much been going on for the last sort of 10-15 years of that reduction anyway. But you get a lot more stores there now with the ability of biometric payments, or just walking in and out with, whether it's RFID chip related, or you're just going in and out with your smartphone at this moment in time. Virtual shopping is obviously on the increase as well. You've got things like automated check-ins at hotels and things like this. You've also got healthcare. This is where it's really interesting with deep learning, because you've got things like radiologists out there at the moment who try their best to dissect the information of what they see in front of them from scans, from biopsies, etc. As AI learns that, it will take away that need for that human to be in there, and it can make the decisions on their behalf, or provide algorithmic data to suggest that in 5 years time, 10 years time, you might develop XYZ in your body, or this, that and the other, or we found this. We can associate based on data algorithm from hundreds and thousands of samples of people out there that this is what you've got, rather than guessing or having to do biopsies and things like that. So it's quite interesting. Pharmacies, obviously there's a big reliance when you go into a pharmacist. You spend a bit of time in there, you get your medication, or they look for it and then they find it, etc. That can all be automatically done. It can also potentially not even mean that you have to go to a pharmacy anymore. It just gets delivered by drone, because it's just all on the automated system, right? Manufacturing, I think, has had a massive increase in robotics and automation for many years as well. You've got the legal aspect, so paralegals or legal assistants for the research aspect. All of that can be automated now. Or even indeed you just hire someone that just uses things like ChatGPT, etc. to reference and whatnot in the speed of a few seconds, rather than reading loads of books or Googling things or finding things out for yourself. Teaching, education, childcare, graphic designers, writers, video editors, software developers, tech support, all of this, guys. Agriculture, we mentioned so many things about robots and drones and things like this. Crop health, algorithmic data around that, supply and demand. You've got things like looking at things like skilled trades. I think that's a bit of a difficult one, but certainly perhaps the skilled trades like electricians, plumbers, etc. I think that's one where maybe I think robotics need a lot more years to enhance themselves in there. But AI is outside of robotics. You can't really do electrical, plumbing, etc. using AI. Yeah, it's a physical job. So I think it's really interesting that could be one that's saved for a long time. Maybe even the leadership roles, like at the really top of the hierarchy, where they still have to manage software and programs and platforms, etc., or people who are operating those systems for now anyway. And as I said, maybe surgeons where they have to make certain judgments. But I do think, honestly, in the next 10-15 years, whether it's from the military perspective or pharmaceutical perspective, that I can personally see that this kind of technology starts taking over those areas as well. So for me, guys, it's a fascinating topic because of what I know in the AI sphere for many years. I've seen the machine learning algorithms and evolution of that. I've seen the deep learning evolution. I've seen it in the flesh for about, well, not the flesh, it's digitalized, but I've seen it in person, certainly in retail spheres and behavioral study sphere areas of interest. It's going to accelerate beyond our comprehension. And I think personally that, as Raul Paul said, I've said in many videos, we can't beat this. We can only really invest in it. But the investment part of it's really quite interesting to me over these next 5-10 years of how the investment side of it will become potentially so automated that we may not even get ahead of the game or ahead of other people because it all starts balancing out because everyone starts using AI. I can't, in my head, well, I kind of see an end game, like how the world will go, because I don't think it's going the right way, personally. And I think we're going to be in a lot of trouble by 2030 and moving forward with that. Yes, we will adapt. Yes, we will evolve with it. We will learn to live with it. I do think substantial amounts of jobs, maybe even like 80 to 90% of jobs will be gone in the next 20-30 years. And things like basic universal income are coming, of course. We've got, of course, the aspect of, the ability of having robots in our house in the next few years. I mean, my God, this is like a movie, right? iRobot or artificial intelligence film from all those years ago. It's mind-boggling. So I personally, I just try and enjoy life like every day, as much as I can, and enjoy the people around me, because I think there's a strange future coming. So I have a duty on this channel to not just talk about the investment opportunities, the crypto opportunities, but I think it's also important we understand what we're investing in and see that trend. So in a sense, guys, whether the good or the bad stuff is what we want to follow, the fact of the matter is this technology is going to increase substantially, and therefore investment opportunity is huge. How much we make of it because of the automation, the AI integration starts kicking in properly remains to be seen. But I think I have a duty here as well to make people aware of that point. Because, even if we exit crypto, blockchain is traceable. Our money is fully digitalized. It's all online. Cash will fail to exist in the next 10-15 years, maybe earlier, probably earlier. So what do we do? Where do we go from here? Honestly, I don't have all the answers. All I know is the pattern that I've known for the last 10 years of knowing what I've done within my career in terms of seeing the knowledge that I've gathered from this industry to orchestrate in my mind some outcomes. And right now, I can't figure it out for everyone where this is going. So yes, I'm excited about the investment opportunity. Yes, I'm excited always about delivering videos on this channel, but equally, I do sometimes sit there and I'm like, what is going to happen? What have we even got in front of us as humanity, society? How much are we going to give away? How much are we going to give to this new evolution that is AI? Exciting times ahead. I think fearful times ahead as well. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Your pros and cons for AI. I think there's some wonderful things that we can do with AI, with integration. I hope for the good. But I can also see the bad side. And the bad side will come from who's controlling the AI at the moment and who provides the input for that. But secondary to that, when eventually AI gets bored of listening to the input of humanity and takes over from itself, well, who knows? Guys, I'm going to leave this video there. There's a few of the top picks, as I said, within the AI agent perspective. We will do individual videos on 2 or 3 of those, maybe up to 5 of them. If you have a couple that you want me to cover in addition to the 3 I've just mentioned, please do let me know in the comments. And I'll try and break this down a bit further. If you want any more knowledge or information, I've done many videos on AI in the past, but I'm gladly do more and more of those if anyone's interested, or if they want me to do a live video so you can do a live Q&A. I'll do my best to provide as much info as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. That was a bit of a mind-blowing concept and conversation, wasn't it? See you in the next one. Bye-bye.